Today's video is about a little sensitive topic, and this topic was requested to me by someone, and how could I not make a video about it? The topic is how to stop binging on food. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 things that might help you cope up with your binge eating disorder if you have one, or I will also tell you the differentiation between actually having an eating disorder and just getting into the jazz of social media that has been created these days around eating disorders. Apart from that, if you also find yourself binge eating every now and then, I will also give you certain solutions which might help you in coping up with that. The first piece of information that I want to share in this video is that, oh, I ate a bag of chips is not a binge eating disorder. Binge eating disorder is a deeply affecting psychological issue which has to be dealt with under the guidance of an expert. Because people can voluntarily puke out their food, have bad teeth, damage their gut lining, and from my experience of working with binge eating disorder people, most of the times it's not even about food anymore. So if you are someone who is contemplating around whether you have an eating disorder or not, and you constantly feel like seeking out for help, you might as well go get that help. Because another new diet program, another new weight loss program, another new weight loss scheme is not the thing that you need. You need proper professional help. So go out and seek out that. Now, having spoken about the weightage of the issue, let's just talk about the binge eating behaviors that a lot of us have when we are on a diet program or when we are trying to lose weight. Why do these things happen? The number one reason why these things happen, why you reach out for that bag of chips every night, why you reach out for that extra dessert in the night, is because you are going through a fasting and feasting cycle. What I mean by that is that when you're constantly trying to eat lesser calories, when you're constantly trying to hold on to your calorie intake to lose weight, your brain will still look for the amount of calories that it requires to make your heart, kidney, liver, lungs function. And that's when your hunger hormone rises, which creates this hunger signal. And at that time, because you're calorie deprived, your brain wants to have a lot of calories in one go because the day is about to end. And that's the reason why night is specifically the time when most of the cravings also happen. And where can you get a lot of calories in one go? Desserts, salty and fried food. And that's what you reach out for, isn't it? So the easiest way to avoid binge eating is to eat properly during the day. My next tip for you to avoid binge eating is to take care of your nutritional deficiency. Yes, there can be certain specific nutrients which you are deficient in, and that's the reason why your brain wants you to have a certain food which might be a source of that. For example, when people reach out for inedible things like chalk, they are mostly deficient in calcium. And when you start substituting calcium in their diet, they stop craving for these things. If you want to know more about your specific food cravings, watch this video next, because in this video I have talked detailed of exactly what you might be craving and exactly where you can get it from in the healthy sources. My next tip for you to avoid binge eating is that you should journal out the last few days before a binge eating episode. Are you stressed because of a reason? Are you too busy to eat the normal meals? By drawing out these patterns, you can understand exactly what your body is going through, and that might also help you channelize your frustration or whatever fear or whatever negative feelings that you have inside of you in a more positive way or in a more constructive way, which are not around food. And because journaling is such a powerful tool for self-understanding, the next step is also around journaling. You might be someone with a long history of binge eating. You constantly find yourself in the cycles of binge eating and reaching out for foods which you know are not good for you. What I want you to do is that you journal out your childhood habits. You journal out your past behaviors, and there might be some emotional triggers in your past which led to a certain kind of binge eating. In fact, this is an actual technique I make my clients follow when they are working with me in the 3-month program, where we try to figure out what are their food triggers, what are their emotional triggers which are getting channelized inside of the food. And the findings are really shocking. At times, a 30-year-old female who is constantly binging on something specific, the reason of it started when she was 7 years old and she was put through some body shaming. This process would require a lot of self-awareness and a lot of self-work. And if you want me to be there with you, then in the description box, you can apply for my one-on-one program where I will work with you one-on-one to help you find out what are the issues which are bothering you and your health, so that you can put yourself on a food freedom journey while achieving your health goals. Moving on, my next tip for you to combat binge eating is that whatever findings that you have from the journaling sessions, you find out the way to channelize that in the non-food ways. What I mean by that is that it might be the case that when you're angry, you feel like eating a brownie. But when you're angry, you can channelize that energy into something more creative. Because whether you accept it or not, the truth is that whenever you're trying to fill an emotional void with food, that void is never going to be full. Now you might ask, why is it, Manisha, that I am channelizing all of this negative energy into food only? The reason for that is coming from the evolution. Food is a marker of safety. Food is also a marker of happy hormones. So whenever we are feeling full, whenever we have a contentful meal, our happy hormones, dopamine and serotonin rise. That are also the feel-good hormones. And that's the reason why whenever we want to feel good, we might turn to food. However, that comes with its own host of negative effects. When you're channelizing these negative emotions towards food, you are creating a lot of dependency on food, you are overeating, you are also hosting a lot of lifestyle disorders in yourself if you're constantly eating junk and highly processed food. So yes, channelizing these negative emotions towards food might not give you the contentment for a long term, but it might give you lifestyle disorders for a very, very long term. And my next tip for you to combat binge eating is to understand and celebrate your uniqueness. What I mean by this is that a lot of comparison around social media also leads to binge eating in a lot of people. When you're constantly scrolling through Instagram, when you're constantly scrolling through fitness pages who show a before and after, you might get into the comparison mode where you might feel inferior about yourself because you can't see that quick change in you. However, what you're missing out here is that you are seeing that before and after picture, but you're not seeing the timeline behind it. Because that's just not how our brain is programmed. When you're seeing a before and after, you're seeing those at the same time in front of your eyes. And that's the reason why you can't see the distance between the two. You can't see the journey between the two. Apart from that, a lot of people also set this comparison between themselves and celebrity figures, between themselves and their parents, their siblings, their friends. And that comparison is also just as unhealthy. What we need to understand is that every one of us is very different. The way our body is behaving, yes, evolutionary perspective and the physiological perspective is just the same, but genetic makeup is very different for everyone. Our situations are very different from everyone around, and that's the reason why our body knows the best about exactly how to deal with everything. The person that you're comparing yourself with might not have a tough job. The person you're comparing yourself with might not have a bad relationship or a challenging relationship. The person you're comparing yourself with might have 10 people around themselves to serve them. Or just plain simple different upbringing, different mindset, different disciplines. While drawing healthy inspiration from someone else can be a good thing, but setting yourself for this comparison which does not even exist is not serving you any purpose. Now, despite the fact that this topic might have been very boring for some, I'm sure that these tips are going to be very value adding for some people who are constantly in this cycle of binge eating and fasting. If you are somebody, and even if you're not comfortable commenting on this video, come on my Instagram page, write me a DM there and we can talk there. But one help that you can do to me is that you can help me in making this video reach more and more people by liking this video and sharing this video with someone who might draw some value out of it. On that note, I hope you keep having a good life and a fit life, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.